A crucial piece of Russiagate has just literally imploded. I want to say disintegrated, imploded, but essentially fallen apart. And in the process of falling apart, it's actually created more questions than anything else. Questions about the Mueller report, even questions about the origins of Russiagate in and of itself. It is a fascinating development that has just taken place, and I am chomping at the bit to talk about it. So, welcome to the soapbox. Say, for example, I am going to tell you a story. And before I tell you the story, if you find yourself coming back to this channel often, please consider supporting the content. Definitely hit the like button. Make sure it's clicked twice, I believe, to make sure you get my content. But also, if you like the video, hit like, subscribe. Also, if you find yourself coming out often, please think about supporting through PayPal or Patreon. It actually really does help the channel. Even $1 helps. I'm going to tell you a story. It is a fictional story, but a story nonetheless, and it's an extraordinarily good one. Say, for example, that a young guy, suave of sorts, let's say 20s, early 30s, is working with a presidential campaign. And let's say his name is Jerome Papadopoulos. Jerome Papadopoulos. Fictional character, Jerome Papadopoulos. One night, Jerome Papadopoulos is in a bar. He's running his mouth off. And as he's, shooting his mouth off, he's talking about dirt on the Russians, or dirt from the Russians on Hillary Clinton. Now, he's telling this to one gentleman named Joseph Misfit, or Joseph Misfit tells him that there's dirt on the Russians, and he's blabbing about what Misfit told him. The FBI, because there's another part that I just thought of, but the FBI pop him because there's this really big investigation going on about the president and the Russians. When they get him, they sit him in a room, they scare the shit out of him, and they ask him about this particular meeting. And he tells them, whatever he tells them, he lies. For whatever reason, either he misremembers or he lies, whatever it is, the information that he's relayed to them is not the exact information of what it is. And they bust him. They say, you're lying to us. You were getting dirt on the Russians. We know about it. And we even know when you were doing it. You lied to us. So we're going to put you in jail. Now, keep in mind, the dirt on the Russian stuff wasn't illegal. Having a conversation with a guy that tells you he has dirt from the Russians on the Clintons is not illegal in the least, nor is arranging a trip for a candidate to visit Russia. Neither of those things are illegal, and yet he got popped nonetheless. One more piece to the story. What if I now tell you that it was just found out today that Joseph Misfit that told him, that gave him that information about the Russians having dirt on the Clintons, wasn't a Russian asset, but worked with the FBI that was training FBI officers. This guy wasn't a Russian asset at all. This guy literally was working with our intelligence services. That is astonishing. That is astonishing. Now, Papadopoulos makes the point that he never told Downer about that meeting, meaning he never told him that he had that conversation with Misfit. Understand what that means. That would mean that some asset, some spy of sorts, engaged him, and then after they popped him, they asked him questions about what they already knew took place because that spy engaged him. And then they popped him on that information while withholding the fact that the guy he was engaging that with or that was telling him this stuff worked with the FBI. When the FBI was asked about this, they went mum. They said squat. They weren't responding to this questioning at all. But that is an astonishing development. Nunez came out with that today, and Nunez is like, we have questions. There are things that needs to be asked. And this brings up a whole host of questions. Like, this brings up questions about the Mueller report. Did Mueller not know this? How could Mueller not know this? How can Mueller not know this? With all the intelligence services that he had at his disposal, popping and squeezing people, throwing people in jail, indicting this guy, indicting that guy. How could Mueller put this guy in the Mueller report like he was some kind of Russian asset? Right here. Let's flip over to this. First, just to be clear, right here. So this was back in 2018. Nobody knew. Everybody thought Misfit was a FBI, was a Russian guy. So he's in the Hill. Solomon is making the point that when they asked Misfit about the meeting with Papadopoulos, Misfit made this seem as if it was a business thing, that it was a pleasant business meeting. And he says, yes, I told him I was going to hook him up with the Russians, that he was going to get him in contact with the Russians, that direct everything with strong links to the number of U.S. institutions. Now, that's putting it politely, but ultimately, I'm going to put you in contact with the Russians and they're going to have information on the Clintons. So fair enough. Now, Misfit told the FBI after he went back in his documents to make sure there wasn't something more sinister. The issues that you specifically asked me about in your questions this morning did not feature in any of our email conversations as far as I can see. The Mueller team indictment paints this very differently. Now, however the Mueller team indictment paints this, it claims that Papadopoulos lied when he stated that he was advising the Trump campaign and when he learned about the contacts from Misfit. So they popped him on that. All right. Right here. Okay, no one knows where Misfit is now. Misfit is a ghost at this point. Papadopoulos acknowledged he received information about the Russians having dirt on Clinton in the form of thousands of emails. He told the FBI that the Maltese academic named Joseph Misfit told him about this in London on April 26, 2016. Papadopoulos was later sentenced to 2 weeks in prison for downplaying his contacts with Misfit when he was questioned by the FBI. But again, right here, look at this. FBI has something to hide on Joseph Misfit. He's not a Russian agent at all. Right here. Nunez said it's impossible for Misfit to be a Russian asset because he has a history of working with the FBI and training FBI agents. The FBI is not cooperating per usual, meaning they've got something to hide, Nunez said. It is impossible that Misfit is a Russian asset, Nunez continued. He's a former diplomat with the Malta government. He lived in Italy. He worked into an FBI, trained FBI officials, and worked with FBI officials. This looks more sinister now. It looks like they entrapped him. Am I crazy on this? It looks like they entrapped him. I mean, this looks weird. This looks really, really weird. Cool Blue, it's 1 a.m. and I'm wide awake. The night is young. I wish I was. Have a safe holiday and slap anyone who describes Memorial Day as happy. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm wide awake. And, when I'm wide awake, when real men can't sleep, real men do the news. This is amazing. This is amazing. I'll check her out. I haven't seen her yet. Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing. Because understand what this means. This blows a hole into it even brings up questions on why Mueller didn't know who Misfit was. Why didn't he know? Is he incompetent or is he corrupt? Which one is it? I was talking to Garland today. Garland seems to think he was just corrupt, that he was backing the FBI, that all this time they thought, he was a fix-it guy. He was a fix-it guy. He was a fix-it guy in ensuring cleaning this stuff up for the FBI. I don't know, but I do know this brings up serious questions. This definitely brings up questions. I'm not going to keep this one. Jamal made up the fictional name. Yeah. Jerome Papadopoulos. Of course, I'm joking. It's Papadopoulos. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about Papadopoulos. Yeah, I'm putting the links at the bottom so you can see for yourself. It's bizarre, man. It really is bizarre. Jamal, how does this fit in with the DNC never turning over the servers? So, this, believe it or not, it does. To a certain degree. It seems like there was a concerted effort to implicate the Trump campaign in something that would allow spying on the campaign. The same people that were instrumental in ensuring Hillary Clinton got off were also instrumental in getting Trump on, meaning they got Clinton off and got her political opponent on some level of an investigation. While this was happening, the Ukrainian government was working with the DNC to release information on Manafort. Now, not to mention having a spy in the Ukrainian embassy itself. Like, this stuff is mind-blowing of what they were doing in this election. Utterly mind-blowing. All right, I'm going to end this here. I don't want this one to go too long. This conspiracy theory that engulfed our politics for 3 years. And after that conspiracy theory was shown to be such, the response of the Democratic Party wasn't, all right, let's move on. It was, all right, he's guilty of obstruction because he was standing in the way of us finding that there was nothing to see. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. There are real policy discussions to be had. There are real things that need to get done. I'm sick of this notion of politics just for the sake of politics. Let's get something done. Let's get something accomplished. And I'm sorry, you can't do that with this conversation, Russia. Even if Russia did what they say they did, meaning the Facebook and Twitter ads, I don't care. I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care. And the Democratic Party that cheated Bernie Sanders is not the best, person to trumpet that particular point of view. I don't care. I don't care if they did it, which makes me would care less about this particular argument because I'm not even sure if they did it, if that makes sense. If you want to beat Donald Trump, beat him in a ballot box. He's utterly gross. On issues of foreign policy, on issues of domestic policy, the guy gave a massive tax cut to himself and his cronies. The guy put billionaires, people who were donating to the Republican Party, on seats in governance. This goes beyond a person working at the behest of millionaires and billionaires to just the billionaires doing it themselves. You can't beat that guy. The guy doesn't even acknowledge that global warming exists. You can't beat that guy. Like, I guess I have extreme qualms with this. And now they're screaming about impeachment. Don't get me wrong, Trump doesn't do himself any favors. He's utterly gross. When he freaks out in Rose Garden, and I think I may do a video on that, that looks childish. It's not that it's not that I don't understand him. I do get it. I mean, I would imagine it is infuriating to get elected and then somebody screaming at you that you were working with the Russians and it was false. By the same token, it was also pretty fucked up with him screaming at Obama having the first black president have to show his birth certificate. So, I guess my point is this. Spare me your tears on that. Spare me your tears. My defense of this has nothing to do with Trump. It really does have everything to do with this notion that the Democratic Party is trying to make an excuse for why they lost. That excuse is extraordinarily necessary, that permanent lie. Because that permanent lie allows them to gloss over the fact that she lost just because she was a status quo candidate at a time where people want to change. It's not the Russians. And if you want to say anybody cheated, maybe you should look at the Republicans. So, I just saying. Just saying. I'll end this today. If you guys enjoy the content, I think I already said that. You have a good one. I'll see you probably in a few minutes. Thanks all.